Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. We're filming in the afternoon. Thank you so much. Usually I forget to press the buzzer, and then it's a whole thing. No one knows what's happening. We are here today with our 21 Minutes with Mark Tuchman. Very excited from 99 Bottles.
Thank
so
you
you brought your swag on your hat, too.
Gotta represent.
That's it. There it is. So Mark is with us today, and he's going to tell a little bit of background and story on 99 Bottles, among a variety of other things. Super curious to dive in and hear how, what, why, where, all the fun stuff. But to kick us off, as you all know, we always have a nice, fun icebreaker. So, Mark, the people want to know if Sarasota, which is where 99 Bottles is, in case you don't know, go check it out. If Sarasota suddenly passed a law limiting everyone to one beer flavor forever, what beer flavor would you choose?
My answer is going to be very personal because I think that I would end up choosing a Belgian wit beer for everybody. My all-time favorite beer is Allagash White, made in the great state of Maine.
I love Allagash.
And I think that style of beer is a perfect Florida beer.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't agree more.
Yep. I wore an Allagash White hat till it fell and tattered apart.
Yeah.
It is incredible, and I would be good with this law passing.
Yeah.
Me
That's
too.
One of my favorite beers.
One vote
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I often say Allagash White is Blue Moon on steroids, and you don't need the orange slice.
Exactly. That's a great way to describe it. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, I want to get in a little bit more to 99 Bottles, the brand, the community that you've created. So opening question here, really, I feel like what you've done with the concept and what you've built really has been more than just a beer bar. You have people advocating on your behalf, which is how you ended up here today with us.
Here today, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So cool. You got a fan base.
That's great. Somebody other than my mom. Excellent. So excited.
She still counts for that one.
She
Right now I have
definitely
two.
Yeah. Once I was a wolf pack. So we know it's more than just a hangout. It's really like a true neighborhood connected experience. You've done such a cool job curating not just the beers and the taps and the bottles, but really like the experience of being inside the building, right? What I want to know is there has to be a level of intentionality around building something like that where people feel like it's your cheers, right? Yeah. Like everybody knows your name. Talk to us a little bit about creating that overall atmosphere. How did you do that?
Yeah, so I think what you're describing for the most part can be, you could use lots of different terms. Atmosphere is one of them. Vibe is another one. Culture might be another one of them. But I think it all boils down to, I can relate it to growing up and watching late night TV on a Friday night or a Thursday night and watching Cheers, that famous sitcom, if you would. And everybody uses Cheers as instead of the name of the show, but actually as a adjective these days, if you would. And we like to tell people, and we're very proud of the fact that we created a Cheers-like atmosphere. Yeah. It all starts and ends with the staff. And the staff are extremely welcoming and very delicate and very comfortable, and they welcome you in the door. And once they welcome you in the door, I teach the staff what I call the Blockbuster effect. You're all too young to remember Blockbuster video stores, but when you walked in the door to a Blockbuster video store, they actually had a little bell on the top of the door, and they had one person working in a 9,000 square foot cavernous store, and from across the room you'd heard somebody go, "Welcome to Blockbuster." Now, while we don't do that because our space is only 877 square feet, excuse me, we do welcome people in with a very welcoming, warm reception. It all starts there. Treating people as kings and queens, remembering their name, connecting them to other guests that they might have a nice, kind of a baseline of a potential friendship or partnership along the way. Yeah, we take a lot of pride in the fact that we are not on Main Street. We're on 2nd Street in downtown Sarasota. And it takes a lot of work to get people to come 2 blocks the other way. Right. And once we do, we got to give them a reason to want to come back. And that idea of, some being a part of something, being a hub in the community, people, resonate with that idea and they want to be a part of it. You just got to give them the opportunity. And I think we do that well.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like Some of my favorite places and memories have come not just from like, the eating or the drinking, but the interaction, to your point, of the folks behind the bar, the folks at the table, actually helping curate, what you're about to experience and really making you feel like I feel like my biggest, especially as former food and beverage people, is like the bartender or the server with the script. And it's like, hello, my name is Brittany. And it sounds to me like you have been able to almost replicate yourself and like get people in this mode of, we're here to have a good time and let me help you experience that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, craft beer can be very, intimidating. Why? Because there's so many options constantly changing.
Yeah.
The industry as a whole and all of its consumers have ADD. And
everybody's got an opinion on it.
Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has their own TV show, So we try to at least, feel out the consumer when they're with us and see what they're interested in. And if they want to nerd out, we give them the full nerd experience. And if they really don't care, we just give them the welcome to the neighborhood experience and everything in between. Yes, we have a script when it's needed too.
Sure. You need a place to start.
You got to start somewhere. And we have those starting points and those talking points too, but once we get to know you, it's it's just a straight up welcome to my living room.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, I love the get to know them at brunch. I think that's like kind of gotten lost in the like corporatization of hospitality and 100%. Food and beverage. And I was a manager once upon a time long ago before I shifted to marketing, and there's studies around this, and I'm not going to like quote exact numbers, but it's like if you can nail a first experience, you're almost guaranteed a second experience. Yeah. If you nail the second experience, there's like 50% you have a lifelong like a restaurant customer.
Right.
And if you nail the third experience, those people are going to bring friends.
Advocate.
Yeah. 100%. I that is a John Taffer-ism is what that one is. Yeah. He preaches it a lot. Not that I watch him all the time, but at the end of the day, we want, and everybody wants, the opportunity to earn people's business and to become a friend in whatever capacity they want. We often say, become a regular with whatever frequency you want. If regular to you is once a week, we'd love to see you. If regular to you is once a quarter, we'd love to see you. It's not that initial experience or sale, if you would. It's do you get the reorder, so to speak.
Do you get the same?
Do you get that individual coming back another time? Because that's the greatest compliment that you'll ever receive, is that they had a great time and they remembered you to want to come back.
Yeah.
Love that.
Totally agree.
So when you think about like kind of this curation of craft beer and people and getting the right, personalities and attitudes in the building, we could just like bucket that into one whole like pillar. What I'm curious about is like the extension of that. So when you opened the doors, you had to have, like a vision, aesthetic, inspiration to then fill it with all of these vibrant personalities and beers. What was the inspiration for the aesthetic? How did you make it feel like good and like your living room? I love that.
Yeah. So, historically, craft beer specifically, of which 99 Bottles is craft beer forward, but we're not a craft beer only place. Okay. But historically, craft beer is one of effectively three silos. You're either a brewery producing the beer, and up until 5 years ago, the brewery experience was a warehouse and somebody behind the bar that just didn't care, right?
Yeah.
Or it was a corporate environment, which might be something like a World of Beer or a Brass Tap or a Buffalo Wild Wings or other, whether it be regional or national chain. Yeah. Or the third version of that was the local dive bar that had craft beer. That dive bar aesthetic, dark, dingy, not particularly pleasing, that version there.
Maybe one bartender who knows the actual stuff, but big maybe.
Right, yeah. So when my wife and I developed the idea for 99 Bottles, good, bad, or indifferently, as most of my professional career will attest to, we wanted to do something different than those three, kind of generic silos. And what the idea for 99 Bottles as it relates to craft beer specifically, what it started as was how do we elevate the craft beer experience so that it's on par with the wine bar experience. And that's where the inspiration for the physical aesthetic came from. That's where the inspiration for the vibe came from. That's where the inspiration for how we were going to provide service and hospitality came from. And then we said, okay, but we don't want to be too snooty about it, if you would. And so as an example, our staff still wears t-shirts. They're branded t-shirts as opposed to like a collar shirt or a button down or a little vest if you went crazy, right? And they still wear, ball caps or otherwise. So it's that kind of like that balance between, yes, we have a little bit of an elevated aesthetic, all right, but we don't want you to feel intimidated. So look at me, I'm in a t-shirt and a 99 Bottles bar cap, and that's okay.
Yeah. I feel like you just completely flipped my entire perception around what you were after, because when you think about, craft beer, beer bar, this type of experience, it is very masculine, right? And so that is kind of the interpretation, even the way, the interaction is supposed to go. But, wine bar brings a completely different perspective coming in.
Right. So my wife, very thoughtfully, I've been in the craft beer industry for the better part of 20 years and different parts of it along the way. And my wife and my two daughters have always been thoughtful, because if we travel and we go somewhere and they know there's a spot that I want to at least check out, they're supportive of that. Right. Yeah. And then along the way, we realized that as craft beer was growing up, so this was the development of the business kind of came in 2017, 2018, and the idea of it. And as it was kind of going along, we were like, okay, great. If we're going this route of a wine bar, what are certain elements of that type of a venue that you want to have? What are some that might not work in a beer forward environment? But what you're describing, I kind of got to give a lot of credit to my wife, as I do for most things in my life. But it really kind of boiled down to the idea of answering the following question. Will a woman come here by herself and be comfortable? Yep. And if we could nail that, answer that, then everything else was going to be fine, right? Because if either of you wanted to come by yourself and you were comfortable doing so, then great. Then we made it comfortable enough for everybody, because if you're comfortable being there by yourself, we certainly are going to be comfortable being by ourselves, as long as there's not like a ton of pink flowers and perfume all over the place, which there isn't. But my point is that, we found that kind of balance in that idea.
So clever. I love this approach. I also think one of the things, male or female, about craft beer experience, or even wine bar experience, to that end, any new place you're going in the unknown of, it's a big menu, I don't really know what I'm looking at or looking for, potentially, balanced with the beer nerd who's, what's the white whale that they call, like when you're hunting for the perfect,
I think that you just said it.
Yeah,
the white whale.
Yeah,
exactly.
You got it.
Well done.
So you have to balance those two things as well, right? Is the person looking for like the hidden treasure along with the approachability?
Yeah.
So how do you tackle that, like with your menu and bringing new things in alongside like trying to keep a foundation for the folks who may not be as, quote, experienced in what they're looking for?
Great question. And behind the scenes, many people don't recognize the sheer volume of questions and answers and decisions that we have to make in order to achieve that on a daily basis.
Right.
We do it in the following ways. Number one, we have 34 different beers on draft. We like to say it's a rotating selection of beer from all over the world. We have a static makeup of styles that incorporate those 34 taps. And about a third of them are static items, meaning I always have Tactical Melancholy Watermelon Ale on tap number 25 because it's proven to be a great seller for us, and it's a beer that we love, and we love the brewery, so we stand behind it and represent that beer and that brand very well. And then the other 2/3 are a rotating selection, getting back to the idea that the craft beer consumer specifically has ADD. One of my biggest one of my biggest pet peeves as a publican of craft beer is the idea of a guest will come in, you introduce them to a beer that fits what they're looking for, and they say, Mark, that's the best beer I've ever had in my life, and they follow up with, what else do you have?
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
As opposed to saying I'll have another one of those, you know? Okay, great. So that's why Rotation Nation is still very much a part of the craft beer industry as it relates to, you know, putting things out there for the consumer. We have criteria by which we make those selections, and we try to stay within certain guidelines that we can. Always, first and foremost, it's about quality of the liquid. We don't look at where it's from. We don't look at price point. We just look at the quality of the liquid. We taste a metric ton of things all the time. It's a hazard of the job. It's also a wonderful compliment to the job. My wife sometimes gets a little bit angry because if I come home with like 48 samples at one time, she's like, really? You're killing me with this? But, you know, you got to go through them in order to curate those, you know, masterful selections. We balance that by having static items that we think every consumer would be interested in on any given day basis. And those rotating items are the ones that are going to satisfy the curiosity of the beer fan and everybody else in between. We do the exact same thing in our wine menu. Our wine menu is 36 different wines by the glass. We like to say white, red, rosé, and bubbles, everything from a shitty Pinot Grigio to Dom Perignon and everything in between. So,
sometimes that's
same
what you
idea.
need.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need a glass of Pinot Grigio.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All nice.
Yes. Well,
not for me,
hey,
honestly.
look,
I would never.
If you're drinking shitty Pinot Grigio at that point, do whatever you want.
I just want to expand on that for a half a second and tell you that, you know, in most craft beer forward places, there's always going to be the big board that everybody stares up at, of which there's 19 different versions of that today, whether it's on a TV screen or a handmade chalkboard or something like that. And we have one of those too. But what we do is we reprint menus every single day because our items do change often enough, and in those printed menus it's always an easy way to get somebody interested where they could take their time reading through the options that are there. They could read descriptions of everything that we have that are there, as opposed to just saying shitty Pinot Grigio. It might say a little bit more about said shitty Pinot Grigio, and it kind of helps them and brings their comfortability, you know, into where we want it to be, so that they're comfortable either asking for a question, asking for a sample, or just ordering something. And so printed menus, I think, are a really important part of what we do and how we do it.
Completely. Yeah. I mean, I would describe myself as techie. Like, I like technology. However, there is something so nice about having a printed menu. I feel like when like all the restaurants, especially over COVID, came out with the QR codes and like the iPad.
We were talking about this the other day. Like, I can't do the digital menu thing anymore.
When I scroll, I miss things too.
And I'm not engaged in that format.
Yeah. We are a little old school in a couple of things we do. It's all by design. It is all very intentional. We do not have the handhelds that many servers walk around with these days. Love the technology and what it could provide to a fast-paced, high-volume environment. But in our example, we still do pad and paper, those little guest check things. Yeah. The reason why is we're a little bit more engaged at that point with the guest. We're writing something down and our head is not facing here looking for the button kind of thing, you know. We still hand you your receipt and take it back to the point of sale system to run your credit card if that's what you're paying, and then come back. It's a little bit more of an interactive experience between us and the guest, and I think that's why we get the opportunity to form and forge those relationships with guests, whether they're first timers or regulars or anything in between.
I feel like you just gave me a peek inside the tent, because sometimes it feels like technology can be a tool, but it can also be a barrier. So you have found a way, and I love that you have led with so much like strategic thoughtfulness of how to, you know, appeal to your guests and really make them feel like they're part of the decision making and the conversation, rather than just, you know, a number and a
Thank you for that. So much of what we do and the decisions we make are centered on the physical size of our space. So in our environment, we can get away with the printed menu and the handwritten ticket and going back and forth to the point of sale system to take orders and get drinks and get food and whatever they are. If we were in a larger physical environment, we might need to adopt more technological advances for efficiencies and other things, and then might lose that sense of community or that personal touch that we strive for. You know,
what's something else you feel like that behind the scenes and curating this experience that people wouldn't necessarily anticipate coming out of your establishment, like from planning or how you have, you know, curated menus or the way you find beers? I don't know, like what's like your secret that people wouldn't expect to running the place?
If I had to answer that as truthfully as I possibly can, I think it's just a combination of passion, dedication, and hard work. That's it. There's no secret sauce. In the beer world specifically, and in the wine world too, which are our two main focuses, the accessibility to the products are available to everybody with a license. So it's not like I can get things that the next guy or gal down the block can't get. I get them because I've positioned myself within the framework of how the businesses work and how the industries work in order to have the right to ask for those items as opposed to not. And I curate the items by going out and tasting and finding and forging the same level of relationships on the industry side that I do with our customers to make sure that I have the opportunity to get those products. Ooh, overtime.
So fast.
Yeah.
Dang it. I'm like, I got 20 more questions in here. Okay, rapid fire section.
I'm ready.
Here's what we want to know. First beer you ever drank?
Busch Light.
Nice.
Makes sense.
Favorite cocktail?
Captain Morgan and Coke, no fruit.
Solid.
Beer you'd serve to someone who says, I don't like beer.
Probably would start them off with a dessert beer like a pastry stout, because then they could recognize the flavors and say, holy shit, I never knew that could be a beer, and then I could work backwards from there.
Love
it.
that.
Yep. Okay, so like food, then beer. If you could have a drink with any celebrity, who would it be?
Wow. That's a tough one. Is this a dead or alive question
Sure,
or alive?
yeah.
Let's go.
We'll dig them up right
All
now.
right,
Let's go.
without offending anybody, it would probably be Frank Sinatra.
Oh,
Sweet.
love that. Favorite moment you've had at 99 Bottles?
Oh, there are countless moments. I would highlight them off the top of my head with opening day, April 15th, 2019, 5-year anniversary party, April 15th, 2024. And then somewhere in between there on an ongoing basis, I would tell you it's the customers, the younger demographic of customers, because I'm old, that tell us that they love 99 Bottles because they have met either their significant other or their friend group here.
Wow.
And that's why they love the sense of community that we've created.
That's why
cool.
you do it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I had another follow-up, but that I feels like that's the right
We're in overtime.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's great. How cool to be able to tell those stories.
Yeah, love it.
Okay, one last piece of advice you could give about running a business.
Wow. If I was to give a piece of advice to anybody that would be willing to listen to me about being an entrepreneur and starting their own business, regardless of industry.
Yes.
My uncle gave me this piece of advice a long time ago. I never did it, but recognize its values today. And that is, go work for the guy or the gal in the industry you want to be in that you admire the most. And do that for a year or 2 or 3 before you go on your own path. Because you will learn metric tons of lessons that you wouldn't learn on your own.
So
and
smart.
that would be the number one piece of advice I'd give.
Love that. It's never enough time. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you, Atal.
So many
This
more
is great.
questions.
So many more
Fair.
questions.
Love
Also
talking
now,
drinks.
now I want an Allagash. So there's
Yeah.
that
Or shitty
too.
Pinot Grigio.
Or shitty.
Honestly.
On ice.
There we go.
It's always got a place, you know?
Thank you a
Golf
ton for
course.
having me. I really appreciate it. I hope that this was fun for you.
It was.
Yeah,
It was great for me.
great.
Thank you.
So cool to get an insight, and I think like it shows like how much, like you said, the passion matters.
Yeah.
Like, and it shows in the business.
It does. Thank you a ton. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Can't wait to go
Looking
visit.
forward to having you guys come in sometime
No, we're
soon.
gonna have
Love
to.
that.
Same. Yeah. 99 Bottles, Sarasota. Check it out. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Take care.
See you later.
Cheers.
Bye.